Welcome back to TheChowTimePod. It's your host, Red. Got a video today from Alpha Male. Companies are not hiring females anymore because men are refusing to work with them. Yeah, it's going that way. Please like, subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. Let's get that chow. It's chow time.
So a paper came out recently that looked at the impact of the Me Too movement on academia, and it actually shows that post-Me Too, women's productivity fell largely due to fewer collaborations with male researchers. The paper shows that this drop is most pronounced at universities where the perceived risk of sexual harassment accusations is highest. So the actual findings comparing research before and after the movement are right here, and as you can see, after the Me Too movement, collaborations with male researchers inside the same institution fell to close to zero. The author points out that men feel like if they accidentally say the wrong thing, they could be canceled or fired. She also notes that institutions that have clear policies on sexual harassment help reduce this perceived risk. And this isn't just in academia. The paper also cites a 2018 study which showed that 60% of male managers are uncomfortable participating in common activities with women due to this.
We get this comments all the time on this particular subject. Many of you guys have experienced horrible women in leadership, horrible women under you that didn't want to do the work. And anytime you reprimanded them, guess what? You were under the knife because you reprimanded them because they didn't do their job. All of a sudden, allegations start flying out of nowhere.
The same concerns. And a curious finding of the study was that men make up for the loss in this collaboration by just collaborating more with other men, whereas women don't make up for it at all. The author concludes her findings by saying that Me Too was important.
That means that women aren't even willing to collaborate with each other. That's what that's telling me right there.
For raising awareness, but it's also increasingly important for institutions to have really clear sexual harassment guidelines.
A new study, due to be published in the journal Organizational Dynamics, has found that following the Me Too movement, men are significantly more reluctant to interact with their female colleagues. A few highlights from the research include 27% of men avoid one-on-one meetings with female coworkers.
Again, we have stories of this. We get I don't cover a lot of SSM clips or SSM that much, but all of his stories, a lot of them have to do with the workplace and workplace, women. It's just not worth it to deal with these. Most people just want to go to work, provide for their family. They don't want to gossip. They don't want to do all these things. It's rare for us men to do that normally. Like male coworkers for men, it's just, they're just buddies at the work. We don't really hang out much other than that.
Yep, that's right. Almost a third of men are terrified to be alone in a room with a woman. 21% of men said they would be reluctant to hire women for a job that would require close interaction, such as business travel. 19% of men would be reluctant to hire an attractive woman. The data above was collected in early 2019.
It's funny, isn't it so different now? Back in the day, that's who you would hire. Beautiful, gorgeous women to be like your storefront, all of your retail front. Why? Because people like looking at pretty faces. But now it's not even worth it. Like, oh, you want beautiful women in the storefront, but they're going to cause issues. So is it worth it to get beautiful women to go work in the front, or just get a guy to do it?
From workers across a wide range of industries, researchers had asked the same questions, albeit to different people, and with more of a focus on future expectations, in early 2018, just as Me Too was in full swing. And depressingly, things appear to have got worse. In 2018, for example, 15% of men said they would be more reluctant to hire women for jobs that require.
It's a lot higher now, much now higher after the pandemic. Most companies, I see it even below, most of you guys actually own your own companies and stuff. You guys would never hire women. It's just so stupid.
Close interpersonal interactions with women, compared to 21% in 2019.
Earlier this year, I had the displeasure of dealing with a female coworker harassing a male coworker. A male subordinate comes to me to report the female subordinate. She decided that she wanted his opinion on fellatio techniques. She asked him because he's openly.
What's fellatio techniques? Isn't fellatio... Wait, isn't that like how to suck dick? She asked him his opinion on how to suck dick. Of course he's going to tell you, and then you're going to call him
gay. I went with him to HR to report. HR calls everyone involved to get their side. At this point, the female employee realizes the male employee snitched and begins bad-mouthing him. HR hands down punishment based on zero tolerance policy. 3 days unpaid suspension for the male victim, but only 1 day unpaid suspension to the female employee because she's pregnant and we can't cause too many problems.
Bullshit.
The male employee came back from suspension with legal representation. The female employee came back and all the male employees avoided her and any situation where they would need to be alone with a female employee.
It's like that. After one incident in your company that you saw one guy got fucked, now all men know about that incident. Your prospect in that career is over. And this company is over. All of these men now know you're trash.
It's not just men who are afraid of women, by the way.
It's
Women also appear to be increasingly wary of hiring women. The 2018 survey results found that more than 10% of men and women said they expected to be less willing than before to hire attractive women. Note, the 2019 results for women are not yet public. Internalized misogyny really is a bitch. There's been a lot of talk about gray areas in Me Too. All this harassment business is very difficult for men, we're told, because nobody even knows what sexual harassment is anymore. Men are afraid to even shake a woman's hand in case she thinks it's harassment.
It's a joke. We make funny jokes. Joke about pussy being stinky or fucking dicks being fucking whatever, or ugly or whatever. It's just jokes. People take shit so seriously. It's like, why are you offended by jokes? And I'm talking, especially when someone's making a joke with another person and you overhear it and then you're offended because you overheard their joke in between each other. Maybe they have an inside joke or something about it, right? Like, but you got offended. So stop choosing to be offended, people. There's plenty of things to be offended about. Stop nitpicking on these stupid little things that really don't fucking matter.
Easier to just avoid contact altogether. What's really interesting about this study, however, is that it thoroughly debunks the argument that men are confused about what constitutes unacceptable behavior.
In a sense, we are, because what we feel is unacceptable is totally different what women feel. And then each individual woman also feels differently about those things. So it's like, wow, okay, we understand not to harm you guys, but us talking to you is somehow harming you guys in some way now.
Now, here's a quick one about a gal who she, as well as her female coworkers, are having a meltdown because a guy at work isn't paying attention to them. And as I say, women, they need attention and validation the same way plants need sunlight and water. And how if a guy rejects them, either rejects their advances, doesn't pay attention to them, they lose their freaking minds.
They do.
Title: a colleague at work, a 27-year-old male of 1 year, refuses to socialize with me, a 24-year-old female, or any of the women in our office. Oh, the travesty. There are plenty of other horrible things going on in the world, but nothing is as horrible as a guy, God forbid, not paying attention to you and your friends. She says here, "Hi all. I'm posting this on alternative site because I know a few of my friends are following me on here, and I don't want this spilling out until I have some clear thoughts on what I want to do." Oh, you're trying to say you don't want any drama because something tells me you like drama. So early last year, our firm hired Dan, a 27-year-old male. In the first few weeks, he was really quiet and didn't talk much, and that's just how we thought he was. Every conversation with him was short and to the point and never deviated from work,
knows what's up.
aside from pleasantries, have a nice weekend, etc. About 2 months ago, he started becoming a bit more friendly with the guys in our office, and they would hang out every so often after work and have normal conversations. Isn't it interesting that she and her friends are really paying close attention to what this guy's doing?
Stalking this mofo.
However, whenever any of the girls in the office try to do so, he would quickly change the conversation back to just work or not reply. Even now, after a year of Dan working with us, he straight up refuses to socialize with the girls in the office, and he's making them feel uncomfortable. Oh, now he's the bad guy. He's making us feel
So ignoring them is now sexual harassment, boys.
uncomfortable. Maybe he's sticking to business. Maybe he's worked at a place where the girls act like it's high school and wants nothing to do with that. Or maybe he's become very RP'd, understands about MG Tau, things like that, knows the Mike Pence rule, and he's doing that for a good reason. But he's making you uncomfortable. He avoids any discussion of himself outside of work-related events and future plans and doesn't ask any of the girls either. Aware as he is, what can I only assume, pretty good friends with the guys in the office. Even on work meals out to celebrate events, he's only doing the bare minimum when it comes to conversation with the girls, where again with the guys, he talks to them like there is no problem whatsoever. I don't know if I'm overreacting.
I think I reacted this video.
You
This
sure about
video
that?
sounds really familiar.
But one of the girls is considering going to HR about this because she is saying it's creating a hostile work environment. Dan treats us like he treats clients we work with, cordial and strictly about business, and it's wearing thin now. Any advice?
Cordial and strictly about business is a hostile work environment, boys. This is the type of shit they make up because you're ignoring them, or they like you, or even if you started socializing with them and you're just a normal average guy that doesn't look like Chad, this is still going to be an issue.
Advice is appreciated. Okay, she asked for advice, so I'll give some advice. You and your friends need to grow the F up. You're 24 years old, so I'm assuming all the female coworkers are probably in the 20s. We all know what generation they're in between the Z-tards and the millennials, and she's certainly behaving like a bunch of Z-tards and millennials. Your work is a place of business to earn a paycheck to pay for your living expenses or to build a career, not high school. But she's acting like it's high school. If this guy doesn't want to talk to you, that's his business. He probably has experience where BS goes on, gossiping and drama and turmoil, which you're creating drama, and wants nothing to do with it. And given how you're acting here and saying that it's a unpleasant work environment or some BS like that and thinking about going to HR, gee, you wonder why he doesn't want to talk to you.
You know, like the whole entitlement arc of women, this is a big part of it, right? They're so entitled that men have to pay attention to them. Men have to do things. Men have to operate the way they want us to operate. And if we don't, we get canceled. We get reported. We get allegations. All because they see something a certain way and we don't fit that demographic. We don't fit their mold of a man.
Problem is this: you can't handle the fact that a guy doesn't want to pay attention to you, that a guy isn't flirting with you, asking you out and all that, and it's driving you freaking crazy.
True.
Many people, including myself, only became aware of the Me Too movement in 2017 when Rose McGowan, a white wealthy woman who was a famous actress, brought it up. But it was actually started all the way back in 2006 by Tarana Burke, an African-American social activist. Women of color have been speaking up about sexual abuse in low-income workspaces for ages, but they never garnered the same attention as a rich white actress.
Well, isn't this awesome? Due to the hard work and efforts of feminism in the Me Too movement has made men not only be extra careful working with women in the workplace, but it is making men not even want to work with women.
There's been some backlash about Me Too and some anxiety, as you might imagine.
Many male managers and owners are feeling a little bit more tentative when working with.
Okay, so I know a girl. She works at a salvage yard. She just got the job recently, and there's only 3 women that work there. Everybody else is male, and then there's only an office, and only 2 women are in that office. It's the girl, my girl that I know, and then another girl, and then another woman works in a different area. But nobody works out in the yard other than the males. So one of her coworker went out there and to do something, and then one of the male coworkers was yelling at her. And in my opinion, I asked her, was he far away? Why was he yelling? She's like, I'm not sure, but she just told me he was yelling at her, and she got all upset and then reported it to the boss. And then the boss had to send the guy home. And then as the guy was going home, he saw my girl, and my girl asked him what happened. He was like, I just was telling her like she shouldn't be doing that and she shouldn't be out in the yard. I was trying to tell her, but I had to yell because she was a distance away. So because a man is so far away, he had to yell a little bit. She felt that she was being attacked or yelled at. Like the little nuances and contexts that these women really ignore when they tell stories like this. So the boss even said it. This is why we don't, like, blue collar men hate working with women. The boss said that. Like he didn't want to suspend or send the guy home, but he had to because the woman caused an issue. It's never usually men that are complaining about this stuff. It's almost always women. And men are just going about their day normal. If I have to yell at you to do something because you're a little bit further away, I'm going to yell at you to tell you. But somehow I'm attacking you, I'm belittling you or something. Men understand this so well with each other. Like, we'll talk shit with each other, fucking yell at each other. I'm like, you get the job done? Good. All right, we're good to go. If you didn't, you're a fucking idiot. Get the job done. That's all.
And managing their female workers.
Listen to this. A side result, an unintended consequence of the Me Too movement has popped up. Male executives and managers, some are now saying they are afraid to work with and mentor female colleagues in the workplace. So we're trying to find out, is it too hard to see the difference between mentoring and harassment?
Listen, I can't give any more information. But I fear I may have girl bossed a bit too close to the sun.
A large percentage of male managers were concerned about working with women one-on-one in the workplace. They were concerned about mentoring women. They were saying they were afraid to have meetings with women, to travel with women, and so on. It indicates that there are anxieties and fears that we need to address.
Tonight, one retired CEO is speaking out about why he thinks this might end up having the wrong effect on women in the workforce.
Steve, Tricia, well, this new wave of women standing up against sexual misconduct has led to all sorts of changes. But tonight, one CEO believes it may be preventing women from getting the jobs they want.
From the entertainment industry to the gaming world, women everywhere are standing up against sexual misconduct in the workplace.
It's a new day. It is the era of the woman now.
The latest case has brought this movement right to the Las Vegas Strip. Casino mogul Steve Wynn stepping down as CEO yesterday after allegations he sexually assaulted employees. But is time really up?
I have a big concern. And it's what's going to happen in hiring going forward.
Mark Yosoloff is the director of UNLV's School of Gaming and Innovation and hired hundreds of men and women as former CEO of Shufflemaster. He says this movement will make it tougher for women to get hired, especially when they're up against a qualified man.
They might elect to hire the man because they are concerned that down the road, whether they do anything wrong or not, there might be a she said, he said.
Yosoloff says current CEOs he knows have already opted not to sit in meetings alone with women in fear they would do something to spark a complaint.
It's a craziness that no executive wants to have to face.
There's been a lot of talk about gray areas in Me Too. All this harassment business is very difficult for men. We're told because nobody even knows what sexual harassment is anymore. Men are afraid to even shake a woman's hand in case she thinks it's harassment. Easier to just avoid contact altogether.
It's even worse when you get a woman that likes to hug. That's like the worst shit. You go meet a woman. It's the first time you meet her. You put your hand out, and then she's like, "Oh, I want a hug," and that's just like, "Oh, shit." Like, this is gonna be awkward. Am I gonna have to try to hug her back? That's gonna feel awkward. She might feel a way about it. Do I just like do this? Just put my hands to the side and let her hug me? And then she might feel a way that I'm not reciprocating it's just so many little nuances between different people and different women. It's hard to tell which women are which, right? This is why men have walked away. We don't know which are the good women because you guys all dress the same and act the same.
Together. What's interesting about this study, however, is that it thoroughly debunks the argument that men are confused about what constitutes unacceptable behavior. The very first thing researchers did was look at behaviors, emailing sexual jokes to a subordinate, for example, and get people to classify it as harassment or not.
Shout outs to alpha male. A lot of these women that are in the leadership positions now are actually putting so much detriment to the companies. A lot of companies are starting to shut down, even big companies. Please express down below. I really appreciate that. And get you guys next time. Ciao.